And just like that, September is over. I thought a lot about whether or not I should put together a recap of the month, but I think recaps are really great because they help you give yourself credit for all of the things that you accomplish over that time period, that a lot of times comes and goes and feels like a blur. So, month of September, same, right? So for me, I'm in Florida, and it's still super warm here. Kids here actually went back to school last month, but I would say that we're like in the adjusting stage because my daughter made the decision that she was going to study at home this year. This is her final year. She's going to be studying at home, and so that's been a transition, and I work at home. So I had to learn to give up that idea of having this space all to myself while I'm working, and learning how to share that space, right? So now I have both my son and my daughter at home, and they're doing well. Actually, I can't complain. My daughter is doing online courses, and she's got her very first job. I'm very excited for her. And she became a licensed driver this month. So lots of big things happening for her. In terms of television, movies, and shows, I have taken quite a bit of a break from all of the different dramas and series that I was watching, but my daughter and I are watching a drama, Korean drama, and it's called The Lovely Runner, and it's such a great story. We're only I think we're on like episode 10, so we still have a little bit of ways to go, but in essence, we have our two main characters. He's a mega star, celebrity, and she is his greatest fan. He is unalived, and somehow she ends up with an opportunity to go back in time where she tries to change their fates. And it's just a lovely drama. I have been enjoying it. Every episode has been so fantastic, and I'm always excited to see what's coming next, but I'm sad because I know the ending will be coming close, and this one has been a good one. So my daughter and I watched that on Sunday evenings, and it's been great. In terms of books, I'm not a big reader. And this is awful because I used to always be. I used to always enjoy books. I used to always read before kids, before life. I read all the time. And now, like, if I even think about picking up a book, I, will likely pass out and go to sleep. But this month, I did read this book here, the Bohemian Gothic Tarot Guidebook. So I recently got this deck. This was kind of like a unicorn deck for me, and whenever I have the opportunity to pick up the guidebook, I do. And so I went through this cover to cover. There was a lot of great information in here, not only about the cards, but about the artwork and how the images were inspired. In a lot of cases, they have the inspiration photos. There's a lot of little clips and excerpts from famous Gothic tales over time. And it's interesting because instead of giving you upright and reverse meanings, it gives you like the conventional meaning of the card, and then it gives you a darker or shadow meaning of the card. And I went through the deck first and kind of got a good look, formed my own impressions and ideas. And I was so happy that I did that, because in the book, there were things that I thought to myself, I missed that. I didn't catch that when I went through the cards. Or there were things that I read and thought to myself, that is not how I interpreted that card. So it's always interesting, right, to kind of compare and contrast the two. But it was a great read, and I am hoping to refer to this while I work with the deck, which this will be one of the decks that I will be working on in October, but we're talking about September, right? So what I did in September, I read the book. Decks. What decks I worked with? Well, in September, I worked with 4 decks, which I think is pretty good for me, right? So first deck is going to be, these are the card backs, Tarot of Light. And this deck, this is my nighttime deck. This is, I consider this like a hug deck. And I use this deck in the evenings before bed to, you know, pull a card, helps me get settled. Sometimes when I feel like my mind is racing and I feel like I'm gonna have a difficult time falling asleep, it's helpful for me to just take a deep breath and pull a card from this deck. And I think, like, number one, I love this artwork. I was inspired to get the deck because of the art, because I had the one of the other Oracle decks that had some of this artwork, and I loved it so much, but I was like, I just want one deck that has it all. And so I decided to go with this one. And it's great. I love the artwork, but I also love how they've renamed all the suits in a much softer way, is how I would put it. But not only that, when you pull the card, it also it gives you the title, but it gives you a keyword. And this is probably one of the only decks that I have that uses keywords, and I really like that. Like, so this one, this is 12. They call it the turnaround, right? So this would be hangman. They call it the turnaround, and then the keyword is revolution. And I like to sit with the card, with the keyword, and before bed I'll also like pull the guidebook and take a look to see what it has to say. And it's usually very spot on, because I feel like my guides talk to me through this deck probably more than any of the others. So that was one of the decks that I worked with. The other deck that I work with, and this is a pretty regular deck for me. This is the Sasarai Beetle tarot, and I have this like awesome bag that is like such a perfect match. I mean, look at the card backs. And this is a Moon Le Fay bag, and look, even the inside is a perfect match. It's so cool. Anyways, this deck is another deck that, I mean, this one actually, it took me a while to connect with this deck, because there were so many images that I loved, and then there were so many that I had so many questions on. Like, I didn't get them, and it was a struggle for me, like a back and forth with this deck. And in the end, what happened was that I connected with it in a way that I didn't think that I would. And I tend to use this deck for career questions, for work questions. This is a deck that I use for my Monday inspirations. This is the deck that I use for my end of the week lessons. And anytime I have any questions personally, there's been a lot going on, you know, speaking of a lot of changes and pressures at work. And so this deck is perfect for that. I love it. So that's the Sasarai Bito. And the other deck that I was working with, it was kind of like a getting to know you, because I wanted to work with the deck to see if it was gonna stay in my collection or not. But you know, hands down, this deck was just a fast favorite. And this is my Tarot of Strange Branches. This deck is just so amazing. This deck gives me what I need. There's a lot of feminine energy in this deck. I find it to be very helpful and very grounding. I'm the type of well, first of all, I should say I'm an Aries. My card is the Emperor. And my personal life situation, I'm a single mom, you know, head of household, and in general, career-driven person. And so the Emperor part of me comes out quite naturally. And a lot of times, if I'm not careful, it takes over. It takes over, and I forget that I have a feminine side. I forget that I can tap into my softness, into my intuition. I forget how to use my emotions in a positive way, how to work through them, how to sit with them, how to work with them in essence. And this deck has been very, very helpful in pulling me back to a more balanced version of myself. So I loved working with this deck. I used this, actually I used a tarot deck challenge that I found online, and it was really great. And the whole point of the challenge was to help you connect with a deck. And I printed it, and I was hosted a couple of years back, but I didn't mind because it was perfect for what I needed, a deck bond challenge. I printed it out, I put it into my journal, and I just followed along every day. I pulled a card, I read the question, I went through the deck, and it helped me learn about the deck in a really cool way, and it was awesome. And I would highly recommend this, right? Like, especially if you're a person that maybe you have a deck collection and you are feeling overwhelmed, or you feel like you needed to take a step back or a break, but you still want to work with your decks. Maybe you don't want to pull cards for yourself, but you want to be able to work with your decks in some kind of way. I would say this, I don't get tired of saying this. I feel like this is the perfect way to do it. So that is what I did. And then the last deck that I worked with was my Shadowscapes. And I talk about this deck quite a bit. This deck has been through the ringer, literally. It's been through the ringer. And this is the chattiest deck that I have in my collection. And when I need a girlfriend, someone that I get back and forth with, this is the deck that I go to. The cards just kind of fly out of this deck when I'm working with it, and this deck doesn't disappoint, you know. Usually the cards are like super spot on, tells me exactly what I need to hear, confirms, validates, and it's just an awesome conversation. This is not something that I do all the time, but whenever I do, it's just such a pleasant experience working with this deck. This deck came to me from France, from a very good friend, and you know, it went through a lot to get to me, and it almost fell apart in the process, but I revived it. I brought it back to life, and I loved it and cared for it, and tried to restore it as best as I can. And yes, I know this is a mass market deck. It's still available. I could probably easily pick up another one, or maybe even get like the check version that has those, you know, nice size cards, so you can see the artwork better, and that would be pretty cool, you know, to have the guidebook and all the things, but then it wouldn't be this deck. Oh no, I love this one. This is my best pal. This is my best pal, and you know, she stays by my side, and I'm gonna stay by hers. So that is my Shadowscapes, and that was the 4th deck that I worked with this month. New things. What new things have I been working on? Well, I have been spending a lot of time working on the channel, and with that comes a lot of learning, right? There's a lot of learning when you're trying to figure out how to do everything. So I've spent a lot of time with Canva, a lot of time with Copilot helping me to learn Canva, and having a lot of fun with that. It's turned out to be a really wonderful creative outlet. I've enjoyed it, working on thumbnails and, you know, all kinds of things for the channel, the banner, and it's been a lot of fun. So I really like you know, that aspect of it, and I enjoyed that quite a bit in September. In addition to that, this past month, I also pulled out my resume for the very first time in a very long time, and I just gave it a complete and total makeover, a refresh. This was over the course of 2 nights, glass of wine, me and Copilot, and we just went back and forth with the wording and what I wanted to convey, and really just take what was a decent resume but bring it to current day standards. I feel like my resume is the same resume that I used 25 years ago, and all I've done over the years is delete the last job and add on the new job at the top. So it really needed a refresh. That was very interesting, and I was happy that I did that, because in past, really the only time I've ever updated my resume has been like, oh hey, listen, we have this opportunity, we think you'd be great, let me get your resume, and then me like, oh my god, I need a minute, my resume is not ready, blah blah blah, you know. But now it's ready to go. And let's see, something that I got back to doing, I used to do all the time. At some point I stopped, and this is gonna sound like woo, but making my bed. At some point I realized in September that I was putting effort into making my bed every single day, and then the more time went on, the more important it became to me that I make my bed as part of my morning ritual. And I actually read a little bit about that at some point. It's supposed to make you, you know, more successful, more likely to more likely to succeed. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes me feel good, and so that's something that I did in September. I'll tell you something I didn't do in September, since, you know, we're being honest, right? I bought myself a walking pad to try to get a little bit of movement, right? You know, I work at home, I sit at my computer all day, and then when I'm done, I transition to my hobbies and my cards, and all of that is also sitting down on the computer. So I bought myself a walking pad so I can, you know, be better about getting some exercise. Now, I live in an area that is super awesome and amazing. I literally have a fitness trail right outside my door. That was the reason why I chose this home and why I moved here, because I'm a cyclist, and it was awesome to be able to grab the bike and just get on the trail without having to hitch the bike and drive somewhere. And so now what I'm finding is it's so hot. It's so hot. I just can't. I just can't do it. So I got myself the walking pad, and that is something that I meant to do in September that I just shamefully didn't do. But there's always next month. In any case, I have the walking pad now, and all I have to do is put it into practice. You know what they say, it takes 3 weeks to build a habit or break a habit, if that's what you need to do. So yeah, the walking pad. Other things I've been working on, as always, I'm always looking at my personal finances and taking a look at my portfolios and trying to see where I can move things around and how I can best rearrange in order to set myself up for success, right? My goal is to be able to retire early so that I can actually do the things that I love to do. And so I always spend a lot of time, looking at my different retirement accounts, working on my emergency funds, learning about budgeting, seeing what I'm doing right, trying to learn from my mistakes. So it was a really good month in terms of that. And the other thing has been, my deck collection, right? I've been working on culling it over time, right? This was something that I wanted to really take my time with. I didn't want to make any rushed decisions. So I have slowly been working with my decks and deciding which ones are gonna stay here with me and which ones are ready to move on to a new home. And so part of that has been operating, my own little eBay shop so that I can cull the decks that I'm no longer using. So September was a good month for me. I was able to cull about 20 tarot and oracle decks, which I know probably doesn't sound like a lot, but for me it's huge, right? Because I have so many, and because I had so many, in my opinion, right? This is subjective. Everyone has their own personal number. But for me, I felt that I had so many that working with a new deck almost became a chore. And then I never got to work with the decks that I loved, that I already had worked with. And so it was really, really helpful for me to take a step back, look at everything, and then kind of work through the decks to see what I'm gonna do moving forward. So this has been a great exercise for me, and I'm very, very happy that I've done that. So yeah, I think that is everything that I've been up to in the month of September. And now I'm looking forward to fall, even though in Florida we don't experience fall in the way that other places do. It won't actually, well, there's no changing of the seas, like the leaves, right? That's the thing I think I miss the most. We don't really get that here. And it won't actually start getting cooler until maybe another couple of months, where it'll still be warm during the day but cool off a little bit in the evenings. And I'm really looking forward to that. I love to open up the doors and get a cross breeze going and airing out the house and being able to hear the birds and all the things. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, thank you for stopping by and listening to my rambles on what I've been doing for the month of September. I appreciate you, and I will see you again.